You were trained to kneel, to smile while bleeding, to lower your eyes, soften your voice, and play the part of the good one. Because they told you kindness was power. That goodness would protect you. That if you just stayed soft enough, silent enough, pure enough, the world would reward you. But that was never a promise.
That was a spell?
A ritual enchantment passed down through culture, media, and false morality. A sigil etched into your nervous system that told you, if you are kind, they will not hurt you. And you believed it. You let that lie shape you. You gave. You forgave. You spoke the truth and watched it get twisted. You did the right thing and still ended up discarded. And every time it happened, every betrayal, every moment you were used, stepped over, ignored, you whispered the same illusion back to yourself. At least I'm a good person. But tell me, what has goodness earned you? Not power, not protection, not respect. Only the quiet pain of being seen as harmless. This is the first truth you must face. Kindness without sovereignty is camouflage for prey. And the predators, they can smell it. They are not governed by your morals. They are not restrained by your conscience. They see your light and interpret it as permission. Because this world does not operate on the rules you were taught. The world you were trained for does not exist. And that spell, that glamour of niceness, was designed not to protect you, but to disable you, to make you controllable, predictable, obedient. And now, whether you know it or not, you have entered a different game. A game of masks, of perception, of strategic silence and shadowed strength. And if you want to survive it, you must first destroy the false god of unconditional goodness. You must see it for what it is. A beautiful lie that made you forget your own power. Because the truth is far older, far darker, and far more liberating. The truth is this: the world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards those who know how to appear good, while protecting themselves with steel beneath the smile. And that's where we begin. With the one who saw through the veil. With the heretic prince, Machiavelli. Look at yourself. Not the mask you wear for others. The one beneath that. The part of you that stayed quiet when you should have spoken. The part that kept giving second chances. To people who only came back to take more. The part that calls it compassion. But deep down, it was fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being seen as selfish. So you let them cross the line. Again and again. You let them chip away at your time, your dignity, your voice. Because you thought staying good meant staying silent. You told yourself it was noble. But the truth, they saw weakness, not virtue. Not honor, weakness. And whether they meant to or not, They learned they could take from you without consequence, because you were never trained to defend your light, only to dim it. You thought kindness meant being available. You thought forgiveness meant access. And they used that. Opportunists, predators, even people who say they love you. They saw the open gate and walked right through. And every time they crossed a line, you told yourself a story to cope. They didn't mean it. I'll be the bigger person. This is what good people do. But let me ask you something. How often has being good actually protected you? How often has it made people respect you more, not less? How many times have you given more than you had and been met with silence? How many times have you said too much, only to watch it twisted, weaponized, turned against you? You weren't rewarded. You were studied, analyzed, dissected. Your patterns became their script, and they learned exactly how far they could push you before you broke. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not fairness. That is a ritual of power, and you were the offering until now. Because something inside you is waking up. A voice that says, no more. Not because you're becoming cruel, but because you're finally seeing clearly. You're not weak. You were taught not to defend yourself. You're not too sensitive. You were gaslit into silence. And now the mirror cracks, and the old story falls with it. This is the turning point. The moment you stop asking, why don't they treat me better? And start asking, why did I allow them access to me in the first place? And that question is what summons the prince. Not a king, not a saint, a strategist, a student of human nature, the man who said, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And maybe now you're beginning to understand why they never feared losing you, because you never made them. But that changes now. In every great ritual, there comes a moment of betrayal, the moment when the initiate realizes the world is not what it seemed, and that those who claimed to protect them were simply binding them in sweeter chains. This is that moment. And this is where he appears. Not as a savior, not as a god, but as a heretic. A shadowed figure in the library of forbidden thought. His name is whispered in fear, revulsion, distortion. Machiavelli. But what they never told you, what they burned from the pages, is that Machiavelli was not teaching cruelty. He was teaching sorcery. Not of spirits and spells, but of symbols, perception, and psychological ritual. He saw the world not as it should be, but as it is, a theater of masks. A stage where belief is currency and illusion is law. And while the masses knelt at the altar of virtue, he studied something far more dangerous: how to weaponize perception. To Machiavelli, power was never brute force. It was ritual glamour, a mirage constructed through appearance, concealment, and timing. What you showed was never the full truth, only what the moment demanded. This wasn't dishonesty. It was magical masking. The same principle behind ancient rites of transformation. You do not defeat the beast by charging at it. You become its shadow, unreadable, unfazed, unseen, until it's too late. Machiavelli called this virtù. Not virtue in the Christian sense, but in the occult sense. Will. Cunning. The ability to bend fate through force of character. He taught that strategic concealment is power. That silence can be more commanding than speech. That image is an enchantment. And those who fail to sculpt theirs are sculpted by others. In today's language, he'd be called a manipulator. But in the deeper current, in the traditions of Hermetics, Chaos Magic, Tantra, he would be recognized for what he was. An architect of reality. Because perception is the first layer of spell work. Change how you're seen, and you change how the world bends around you. Machiavelli understood this before modern psychology gave it terms. He understood the laws of glamour magic, that the mask you wear becomes the person they treat you as, that every encounter is an energetic transaction, and if you do not encode your value, others will overwrite it. He understood ritual detachment, that if you let your emotions leak out at the wrong moment, you're no longer a magician. You're a marionette. So he taught cold calculation, not as cruelty, but as astral shielding. Not suppression of feeling, but containment of energy. He taught how to withdraw without losing presence, how to vanish from the battlefield without ever seeming to retreat. And here's where the occult mirrors the pragmatic. The greatest sorcerers are not the loudest, not the ones throwing sparks and shouting mantras. They are the ones who move without detection, who shape rooms by entering silently, and control outcomes without ever revealing their hand. And that is Machiavellian. You've been told he was evil, but now you understand. He simply refused to cast his light before first learning to control his shadow. And if you're ready, he can teach you the same. Let's stop pretending. You don't need more heart. You need a system. Power isn't a feeling. It's a function. And Machiavelli didn't write poems. He wrote blueprints. Here's the first rule. Perception is control. The world does not respond to what you are. It responds to what it sees. That's not manipulation. That's sigil logic. The law that what is seen becomes real. If you appear uncertain, you will be dismissed. If you appear strong, you will be respected, even before you act. This is glamour magic, the ability to burn an image into the minds of others and Let that image work for you when you say nothing. Second rule. Information is not intimacy. Most people overshare out of fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being disliked. So they talk, explain, justify. But every word you give is a thread they can pull. Machiavelli taught the art of strategic silence. Not to deceive, but to protect power. You don't owe your truth to anyone who hasn't earned it. Hold back. Let them wonder. Mystery commands more attention than confession ever will. This is ritual concealment. It's not cowardice. It's survival. Third rule. Predictability is weakness. If they can guess your next move, they can shape the board before you get there. Emotional patterns, speech habits, reactions, all of it becomes a map for your enemies. Destroy the map. Learn controlled unpredictability. Change your rhythm. Shift your stance. Sometimes speak. Sometimes vanish. This is not chaos. It's symbolic entropy. The kind of mystery that makes people cautious. Fourth rule. Withdraw. On purpose. The more available you are, the less you're valued. That's not cynicism. It's human nature. If your presence costs nothing, it means nothing. You must become scarce by design. Pull back. Wait. Make them feel the absence. This is energy conservation, not laziness. It's what occultists call ritual retreat, a sacred boundary that increases potency. You don't pour your essence into every moment. You appear when it matters. And when you do, they pay attention. These are the 4 tools, not nice ideas, weapons. Glamour, silence, entropy, scarcity. Learn them. Or stay prey. You weren't weak. You were unshielded. You weren't invisible. You were unencoded. All this time, you thought the world was punishing your goodness. But the world never saw your goodness. It saw your lack of boundaries, your tell-all honesty, your soft reactions. And it fed on that. You played the right game with the wrong map. And now that map is burning. This is your inversion moment. The reversal of your programming. In ritual language, this is the death of the passive self. The part of you that waited to be recognized dies here. The part of you that mistook silence for safety dies here. And what emerges in its place is not cruelty. It's command. You no longer explain yourself. You no longer seek approval. You act with strategic vision. You cloak when needed. You speak when it serves. You disappear when the moment demands it. You don't bend to the ritual. You write it. This is your moment of inner alchemy. Not love or fear, but sovereignty. You don't stop being kind. You become kind with teeth. And from now on, no one uses you without cost. No one sees you without effort, and no one forgets you without noticing the silence you left behind. Most people will hear all this and change nothing. They'll nod, share the video, whisper "so true," and then go right back to oversharing, overgiving, and calling it love. But not you. If you made it here and something in your blood is humming, it means the ritual took. It means the spell has broken. The mask has been lifted. And now you know. Power doesn't belong to the loudest, or the kindest, or the most authentic. It belongs to the one who sees the ritual for what it is and rewrites it. You do not owe the world your openness. You do not owe your enemies your plans. From this point forward, you speak less. You observe more. You decide when to be seen, because power is a spell. And now you know how to cast it. Leave that phrase in the comments. Power is a spell, and I control it now. Let it be your imprint, a signal to the others watching in silence. Because they'll notice something's changed. They won't know what it is, but they'll feel it. And when they ask what happened to you, you'll smile and say nothing. Because the ritual is working. Subscribe for the next transmission. This game has many layers. And this was only the first gate.